Hey there everyone, welcome back to Jimothy Listens. My name is Jimothy, and today I am going to be telling you about the albums that are worth hearing from this past July. And we had a lot of good music come out in July. Two of the albums I'm going to talk about are honestly in album of the year contention for me. There's been just some really great stuff all across the board, but I've narrowed it down into just 6 albums that I think are honestly really worth your time. If you're like, oh, I haven't really heard much stuff from the past month or whatever, I don't know what to do, this is where I would start. All of these albums are phenomenal, amazing, absolutely love them, and let's just dive into it. So the first album that I want to talk about is the latest one from Black Midi, Hellfire.
Enough! Come in! Thank you.
Now, honestly, their last album, Cavalcade, as much as I thought it was very impressive, didn't really hit me as hard as it hit a lot of people, it seems. And I think, like, the biggest part for me that I didn't really care for were the vocals. I thought they kind of felt like an afterthought and kind of just took away from the whole experience. Boy, have I been shown to be foolish with that take on this new album. The vocals are my favorite part. The playing is even more incredible. The instrumentation, the wide range of instruments that Black Midi use, from the pianos and guitars and strings and horns, everything just comes together to sound so cinematic, but in the most hellish and over-the-top way. The whole album just feels like a spectacle. It's not just an album, it truly is like an event. It's an experience, and that helps with the amazing stories that are told on each song. The 2 different vocalists of the band tell these incredible stories, and I love how sort of deeply they're fleshed out with like named characters and sort of locations, instead of just being like, oh, here's, you know, something that vaguely could happen. It's very much, no, I'm just telling a narrative with beginning, middle, and end, and all of the stories are compelling and interesting and a little bit gruesome in some ways. It's just all super captivating, enticing stuff that I cannot get enough of. Literally, when I first listened to this album, I listened to it 3 times in a row because I was just like in awe and wanting to wrap my head around it, and I just keep wanting to dive deeper and deeper into this world. It sounds amazing, the concepts on it are amazing, everything about it is just phenomenal, and expect to see it high up on my year-end list. The next album I'm talking about is my other album of the year contender from the last month, and that is the latest, I think it's actually a mixtape technically, from Rico Nasty, Las Ruinas.
She said, Rico, what do? I said...
Rico Nasty is a rapper that I have been a fan of for a while, but none of her sort of like full projects have ever really sucked me in that much. I feel like she does much better sort of on singles and shorter form things. Up until this point, my favorite project from her was her short little anger management EP. But this album / mixtape, I'm not entirely sure, comes through, and it's just Rico being Rico, which is honestly the most important thing about her. Rico Nasty is absolutely just trusting herself on this one and going with whatever she wants to do, and it's phenomenal. It feels like as the album progresses, Rico kind of like tears off more and more layers of herself as we dive deeper in, and this happens both in terms of the lyrical content. We sort of start off with the very like aggressive, fiery raps that Rico's kind of known for, and then as it progresses, the lyrics just get deeper and darker and more personal and vulnerable, until at the end she is just very much laying her soul bare, and it's quite touching and beautiful. But this kind of stripping away and this transformation also happens sonically. The start of the album is, like I said, that very aggressive sound that Rico's known for, with the kind of like trap metal beats and stuff like that. And then as it goes on, we start working in some more kind of like electronic elements, and there's some nice breakbeat stuff. And then the second half of the album features a lot of sort of gentle, more like almost like hyper pop PC music kind of things. And then towards the very end, we even get like an acoustic ballad, which normally isn't my thing, but I think Rico does it amazingly. It's just a very nice, versatile album where everything she does, she just pulls off flawlessly because she believes in it. And I believe in it. And I love Rico Nasty, and I love this album. From here, I want to point you in the direction of the latest album from Moor Mother. It's called Jazz Codes.
You took your blues away from me.
Jazz 2.0 is here. We've got new jazz. Jazz has been reborn. Moor Mother on this album basically just says, hey, no one's really done something with jazz in a while. Let's just make new jazz. And she does it featuring her usual brand of gorgeous poetry / rapping. And it's accompanied by these gorgeous, very spacey, echoey backings with lots of just gorgeous saxophones and pianos and guitars, all just coming in these very lush and very kind of, spacey and otherworldly kind of sounds. I love that pretty much all of these songs have a bunch of collaborators on them to make it feel more than just one person trying to be like, hey, I'm making a new jazz, and more like a whole community effort to rebuild and reform this style. It's gorgeous and it's exciting and it's really just something to behold. It's a great album, definitely worth your time. From there, we have one of the biggest album releases of this year, and that is the new one from Beyoncé, Renaissance.
We gon' fuck up the night.
Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not normally the biggest Beyoncé fan. In my opinion, I feel like she's a little bit overrated, but this album I was kind of like, okay, I get it now. This album is just a wonderful tribute to all sorts of dance and electronic and hip-hop music from the last however many years. Everything is done so flawlessly and in such a fun and engaging and uplifting and empowering way that just makes it hard to not enjoy. Everything that she does on this album, she just does flawlessly, from the production of the tracks to her vocals to the way everything just flows seamlessly together. It's just an hour-long dance party that is guaranteed to make you feel good. I honestly think it would be impossible to listen to this album and be like, oh, I'm having a bad time. I don't like things. No, it's just, this album makes you like yourself and it makes you like the world. Okay, maybe not the world, but yourself. And that makes liking the world easier. So there's that. Up next is probably the hardest listen on this list, but I do definitely think it's worth your time. It's the newest album from Chat Pile called God's Country.
Why do people have to live outside in the brutal heat?
And this album is, I'm going to be honest, one of the more disturbing things I've ever listened to, not just because of the sound, which is a very kind of harsh, loud, sludgy metal, or even the vocals, which are guttural and intense and overbearing, but it's also the stories of the songs themselves. I honestly don't think I've ever been more terrified listening to a song than listening to the track I Don't Care If I Burn off this album, which suddenly just strips away all of the loud metal in favor of just a sort of ambient snapping and crackling and shuffling as this voice very calmly but very firmly just sort of threatens your life and details how much they hate you before saying, oh, I'm creeping around to your back door. Everyone's asleep. You can't see me, but I can see you. And me, being the psycho that I am, was listening to this with the lights off at like 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was like... So yeah, panicked. And then that's not even the most disturbing song on the album. It gets worse. It's a tough listen, but it's definitely worth checking out, I would say. But also, like, content warning for that one. But, like, do it. But also, like, be careful. And finally, sort of bringing it to a lighter note, the last album that I want to point in your direction is the new one from ITZY, CHECKMATE.
ITZY, blow your mind, blow your mind.
I've made a video just talking about this album. If you want to check it out, you can click the thingy there. But this album is just absolutely everything. I adore ITZY, and I honestly think this is their best album. I think, putting the lead single aside for a second, the production on the album is so nice and spacey and glittery and shimmery. It really feels like just taking a trip through the solar system. It's gorgeous and experimental, but not in the sort of loud, overbearing way that a lot of K-pop is experimental at the moment. It's a very kind of laid back, refined approach. It's very efficient and just very interesting to listen to. And then bringing the lead single back into the mix, while it doesn't have any of those things, it's a fun bop and I'm here for it. The girls who get it. The girls who don't. I get it. So yeah, Checkmate, easily one of my favorite K-pop albums of the year. Easily one of my favorite K-pop albums ever. It's really good. Definitely worth checking out. Love it. Hell yeah. And that is it for this month. Those are the albums that I think are really worth your time. What do you think of these albums? Have you heard them? Let me know in the comments. Do you think I've missed anything? Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, give it, the thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to see more of this beautiful face here. And I will catch you next time. Love you. Bye.